Hello and welcome to Grumpy Gamers. You're here with me, Pete, and along with me this week I have Ben.
Hello.
And Eddie.
Hello.
Nice. Is it bad that I say the same thing every week and I almost forgot what I was saying?
Yeah, I know. You stumbled a bit over that one,
Yeah.
I thought. Yeah.
Kind of forgot what I was doing. It's been a long day at work. It's been a long day. Anyway, we're here now, and we are, of course, going to be going through the news, the new releases, a packed what we've been playing section this week, which includes Pentiment, which is me, Warzone 2 and DMZ, which is both of you, and the new Pokemon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which, I mean, this is the first time in a while we're all playing relevant games, boys. Like,
I know. Crazy times. Who would have thunk it?
I would have thought it because it's the first time there's a free new game, so that's why I'm getting a new game. That's the only
and there's
time.
a game on Game Pass for Pete, so yeah, that makes
exactly.
sense.
That's the only time you'll know.
And there's a paid game for me to get, so yeah.
Yeah. There's money for Ben to throw around, and I mean, to be fair, there were multiple games on Game Pass for me this week. I'm actually sorry I haven't brought June along as well.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Soon.
It says game preview. Does that
This
just
confused
mean...
me as well. It's early access, Ben told me.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, because
I believe that's Xbox's turn of phrase for early access.
right, because I played Medieval Dynasty and that had game preview bannered across it, and I couldn't tell any difference. So
yes,
early
and
access,
the same was for Grounded when it was in early access. It was called game preview. So I think it's just Xbox's way of
that's
saying
cool.
early access.
Fair enough. Well, and because both of you have been playing a brand new shooter, we're also doing a feature this week on sort of a mix of what we think of modern day shooters and the different game modes that are in them, I suppose. So look forward to all of that, but we should probably kick off with the quick news, Ben.
Absolutely. So the first one this week, Team Ninja are reviving Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive. Don't know if you guys have ever played any of these.
I played Ninja Gaiden.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, and I enjoyed, I think it was Ninja Gaiden 3 I enjoyed quite a lot.
I think I played them on the Xbox. Yeah, but that was many years ago. But they are bringing them back to life. So for fans of those franchises, there you go. Star Citizen is free to play until the end of November. That's also one. So if you've ever thought about getting into that one, I know it is a bit of a lifelong commitment, isn't it, getting into that game? But it is.
I've probably done probably about 30 hours worth of research over that game over 3 different occasions because I've considered chucking big money at it, but every time I've always gone like, it just doesn't look good enough.
I've done the same, although for me it's just I don't believe it's going to be what they claim, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what all the reviews say. They either say, it's typical, people go big on either side. So they either go, this game is amazing, it's all you ever need, or they go, this is a disgusting excuse for a game, and I want my money back. But so apparently these free-to-plays come at least twice a year, actually. I didn't know this, because it's not on Steam, so I can't put it on a wish list, so I don't know when it's on sale. But
is it on its own launcher?
I think so, yes. It's still in like early beta. I mean, they say that,
like
but I think
Tarkov
it's been...
Thing.
Yeah, but I think it's... Yes, exactly. But I think this one's been developed for like 10 years or something. So
it's had a huge amount of cash thrown at it as well by Kickstarter, hasn't it? So...
Yeah. My last research, I remember looking and thinking, I wish there was a base building. And they are planning, and this is from the developers, they are planning base building. And when they do, I'm definitely going to get this game.
Yeah, the thing about it is I know it's such a commitment. It's one of those games where you go like, that would be awesome if I had infinite time.
If I was retired.
Even then,
but even then,
sure
you don't have infinite
enough.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Next one, there's a class action lawsuit that's been brought against Nvidia for their new 4090 graphics cards that are melting for some people.
Catching fire as well.
Yeah,
Good
so
times.
that's happening. Another free game for you, Star Wars Squadrons, is free on Epic for this next week. Which is, I never actually played that. It was free on like Game Pass, was it?
Yeah, I think was it on EA Play? Have I just made that up?
EA Play, yeah. I think it was like EA Play, and through Game Pass you could get it.
But even then, that wasn't cheap enough for me.
No, well, the thing that put me off, and it shouldn't put you off if you are interested in this game, is that this learning curve is very steep. So, I think actually that bodes well for a high skill level and a good game. So, Yeah, it's free to pick up. So not free for the week, but free to pick up for this week. So have it for all time. So that is pretty cool. Next one, Dead Island 2, unfortunately, has been delayed yet again, but this time to April 2023. So will still be coming, and it will still be coming soon. It's just April 2023. Discord is now available to anyone on Xbox. So you can link your Xbox and Discord accounts and then just open a channel on your Xbox and it's done. So it was in kind of like a early access thing for people registered on the testing program or whatever, but now it's available for everyone. So we could potentially, Eddie, not use Skype anymore.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because Skype is an absolute fucking nightmare. So
it's a fucking ball ache. That's what it is. It's so shit on the Xbox. Like I got a new Xbox and then tried to use my new Skype, and every single time that I open Skype, it thinks I've never had a conversation with you or anybody else on it, and so I can never start a call. And when I try and start a call with multiple people, it doesn't let me anymore. So I have to wait for someone else to call me. So basically, I have to just put up the bat signal and give you like a dummy call when you're on call with other people, so that you then invite me in. It's just fucking bullshit. Anyway, that's the Skype rant over with for the week. And then there was a lot of Game Freak chat this week. Now, we will be going over Pokemon in what we've been playing, and I don't want to spoil that. So we're going to leave it for there. But yeah, Game Freak was hot in the news this week. Everywhere. So we'll save that one. So look forward to it. But let's move on to the main news.
Yes, indeed. And the first one of the main news is, I don't even really know how to headline this. It's all about the composer for Doom Eternal and some severe controversy. So this technically started in like April 2020, guys, because his name's Mick Gordon, and he distanced himself from the soundtrack of Doom Eternal after it received criticism from fans for its quality, and led to some speculation about the idea that there was a division going on. Well, then last week we had Mick Gordon come out on, I think it was through Medium, to share a lengthy statement rebutting claims made by Bethesda staff and all sorts of stuff like this. Yep. And now we've had a reply from Bethesda.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically they've turned around and said that his lengthy account of mistreatment while working with ID Software on the soundtrack was one-sided and unjust, and a distortion of the truth. They then carried on, and I'm actually just going to quote this outright. So we had, my God, where do I start? Let's just go from here. Both mischaracterized and misrepresented the team at ID Software. The development of Doom Eternal, Marty Stratton and Chad Mossholder with a one-sided and unjust account of an irreparable professional relationship. We're aware of all the details and history in this matter and unequivocally support Marty, Chad and the team at ID Software. The statement continued. We reject the distortion of the truth and selective presentation of incomplete facts. We stand ready with full and complete documented evidence to disclose in an appropriate venue as needed. So they then added some claims that there was harassment and threats of violence to members of the ID Software team.
It's id Software, by the way. It's id.
Id. Okay, fine. It looks. Why is it id, not ID?
It just is.
Right,
I don't
fine.
make the rules. I just enforce them.
Fair enough. Right. id Software then. Fine. It's a bit of an odd one, because did you see the stuff from Mick Gordon?
Yes, I saw the stuff.
He's
where
basically it's like written evidence and all sorts, isn't it? Or written statements at least.
Exactly. He's got a lot, bringing a lot to the table, and everything he's kind of said, where he's like, "Look, I've been mistreated." He seems to have evidence for, and now this rebuttal is kind of like, we're taking it to court. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, all of this is they're taking it to court. Like,
yeah,
that is what Bethesda mean when they say an appropriate venue. It wasn't really a well-advised statement to do this, to respond at all if you're going to court. But then it wasn't really wise from him to put it all out last week if you're going to court. So I don't really get what anyone's trying to win in this.
Supposedly he wasn't paid for 11 months.
Yeah, that...
And so supposedly his account is that he wanted to produce a soundtrack for the game, like properly, like he was asked to do, and so he wanted to know about level design and what was going on in the particular levels to try and to put the music in around it. But actually, he said, "Can I give you some kind of bass tracks, and then you give me the level design, and then I'll change it around that?" And that was he was told no. Yeah. So he had to do the music without knowing, and then they dropped certain music that he was using, and then they put other music back in when they told him that they dropped all his music and they weren't going to use it and they weren't going to pay him. And it was just
wow.
Yeah, there was just a shit ton going on with it, and I think this was him last week just bringing awareness, much like the Bayonetta situation, but probably with a lot more to it. It would seem, and it definitely seems that there is some mistreatment. His argument is that Marty Stratton there has it in for him, I think.
Yeah, that's been his side of it for the most part, is saying that just the executive producers in general were going at it. But I don't get making this public if you're already lawyered up.
Well, maybe there's a settlement to be had and bringing it to the public, because I know that Bethesda... A settlement, one of those. One of those.
Sure, yeah.
One of those settlements. I think when Bethesda put their statement out there, I think it was met with a lot of people in the industry say, "No, we back Mick Gordon." I think it was almost went against them, and maybe that was the plan all along, because when you've got the public in on your side as well, a lot easier to get a good settlement.
I mean, perhaps I don't know. I think if you're going to court, just go to court. It didn't exactly help Bayonetta.
You're such a purist, Pete. You're such a purist.
It's a strange one. We'll see how it pans out. We'll see how this pans
Just because you like to keep your court cases nice and private, not everyone
does. As private
as
possible, my friend. Yeah.
Not everyone does, Pete. Yeah?
Pete, you said that in such a weird way, and now I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I think he's bringing a court case against me for something.
Constructive dismissal.
Fair.
Very fair. All right, I'll go next. Sonic creator Yuji Naka arrested for potential insider trading. That's pretty cool. So I read this on Games Radar. His arrest is related to allegations of insider trading, specifically related to the Square Enix's Dragon Quest series. The arrest was made by the Tokyo District Public Prosecutor's Office, that's a mouthful, in relation to a case of insider trading that focuses on both Square Enix and its partner developer, Aiming. Naka was an employee of Square Enix at the time. The publisher signed a deal with Aiming to develop a Dragon Quest Tact, a strategy spin-off from the historic RPG series. The Tokyo people, I'm just going to say that until I say that every fucking time, alleges Naka purchased 10,000 shares in Aiming to the tune of 2.8 million yen, which is about $20,000, prior to Dragon Quest Tact's public announcement. Naughty boy. However, Naka, he didn't say naughty boy in the just to let you know.
You added that. Yeah,
I added that for
nice.
For whack.
Would have been better if they had, though. But yeah,
it would have been better. But journalists just aren't up to it these days. However, Naka isn't the only former Square Enix employee to have been arrested on charges of insider trading. FNN is also reporting that Taisuke Sasaki and Fumiaki Suzuki, I think I got them right.
Nailed it.
Arrested yesterday on November 17th. Well, on November 17th, on charges of insider trading, purchased a combined 162,000 shares for 47.2 million yen, which is about $337,000. In Aiming prior to Dragon Quest Tact's announcement. What the FNN report can't confirm is if any of the three arrested men actually sold their shares in Aiming following the Dragon Quest Tact's reveal. Naughty boys.
Naughty boys, but also, potentially naughty boys.
Potentially.
We don't know.
Allegedly,
yes, allegedly. But yeah, Yuji Naka is a bit of a legend, and obviously he was the Sonic co-creator, and the whole controversy about Balan Wonderworld. Wonderworld? Yeah, what's that called? Wonderland? Wonderworld? Wonderland? One of the two.
Whatever.
It's so immemorable. Is that a word? Because he made that game and it was shit, and then he blamed loads of stuff, and it's all crap. But maybe he needed the money. But it's a bit of a shame that investing $20,000 dollars. I mean, in this, if it's true, it's like, oh god, what a fall from grace. And I think insider trading is viewed very poorly.
Yeah.
In most around the world, and I think Japan really he's in hot water. He's in a hot bath right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hot bath sounds quite pleasant.
he's in a hot bathhouse. They like them in Japan.
Well, that sounds lovely, Ben. Do you know what the term hot water is supposed to?
A lovely bathhouse. He's in a lovely bathhouse right now.
Right, fine. He's having a lovely cold white wine while in a hot bath.
Right.
Fine. Sounds wonderful, but
a
he's not having a wonderful time. Just to be clear, he's probably not having a nice time right now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do love when we do things in yen, because 2.8 million yen.
I know, I love
that's $20,000.
Yeah.
Sounds monstrous, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then you look at what the other two are on the hook for, 47.2 million yen.
Yeah, no, that's a monster.
That's the much bigger. They're in hotter water.
Their bathhouse is seriously warm.
They're in a really big bathhouse. Yeah. Like a Roman style one,
There's such odd messaging to bring to this, guys. But, we're doing well with our words today as well, guys.
And we also
a lot of mouthfuls and a lot of mispronunciations.
Good start.
We don't know how much the share price rose as a result of the announcement. So we also haven't got that in here, but enough for them to be arrested over it. I mean, maybe it just seems incredibly unlikely that they would invest in this particular company unless they knew something. So, this is you can't think to get away with that type of stuff, can you? I don't know.
I mean, you'd be surprised. It's another one where we're definitely going to hear more about this soon.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. This is a weird headline. Games developers know insider stuff all the time, and they're not investing in their company. When Nintendo are going to release their new console, you don't get people associated with it investing shit tons in Nintendo. It's the day before. It's it doesn't happen. So this is such a weird thing to happen. But okay.
It's a civil suit anyway, so we'll be out on bail already and probably in a lovely bathhouse.
Nice.
It's a civil suit. It's a civil suit. No, it can't be a civil suit.
No?
It's insider trading. It's criminal.
I know, that's true.
Tokyo District Public Prosecutor's Office as well.
20,000 would
just because we mentioned he was in a bathhouse doesn't mean it's civil.
For 20,000.
No,
Sorry,
insider trading
is crimes don't commit if it's under 50 grand or something.
It doesn't matter about it doesn't matter about the monetary value.
If I rob my local shop, it's not even a fucking crime because I only get a few hundred.
That is a great analogy.
That's an armed. I imagine.
I did not expect that from you, Eddie, but that is a great analogy.
Well, fair enough. He'll still probably be out on bail already.
Yeah. Well, if he hasn't got any money by which person.
Good point.
Right. Last story we have. Phil Spencer, we've seen every week. We seem to be mentioning Big Daddy Phil, don't we? Daddy Phil just coming out with some more stuff, but this time it doesn't seem to be linked with the Activision deal or anything. He was just speaking to The Verge about shipping games too early. So I'm going to go a bit read mode on this one, but he is quoted as saying, "It isn't really a decision to move a game when." To move a game after spending the team's effort over multiple years just to get to a point where they're not going to deliver the game on a date that they promised. Now, it is at some level because I've shipped games too early. We have experienced shipping games too early." Now, he's referring to Halo Infinite, I would believe, when he's saying that, about shipping games too early. So he's referencing Starfield. So he said, in hindsight, when you look at a game like Starfield, it's taken so long and so much investment in new IP from the team. The decision to give the team the time to build the game that they feel they should be building is just the right thing to do. So we know that Xbox have had a barren 2022 and Starfield and Redfall have both been put into the next year.
Yeah, but
and he said that
they had Scorn, so...
Oh, you're right, actually.
So they got one world-class game.
But that wasn't their own studio's game, was it? Because Scorn was but Scorn obviously was such a tremendous game that maybe okay, but we'll give him that one. But he said that there are financial implications to those decisions, weighing what is going to happen, whether it's platform growth, subscriber growth, or frankly the revenue that you generate when a new game launches. Those are business decisions. You definitely have to weigh the outcome of those decisions. He then went on to say about Starfield and Redfall specifically and how important they were to Xbox, because they are the first big Xbox games with ZeniMax, and it's important that those games are released when they're actually done. He doesn't want them to flop, essentially. In the end, he said, I believe the quality of games will be much better, and customers will find the experience to be much more interesting, which will hopefully feel like the right decision in hindsight. One of the things I've learned is that you want teams to feel like they own their dates. They deliver better when they feel like they have, like they own their own destiny for their games. So you wait for the real signal from the creative and production teams. So, yeah, I think unpacking a little bit of what he said there, it's Halo is a sore point.
Yeah.
They haven't got anything in 2022, and he's talking potentially about the lack of growth that Xbox have had, and especially in Game Pass, given when you delay games. But he is kind of indicating the delay of a game trumps other things when it's really necessary. I don't know, can you guys imagine if Starfield was out right now in this stacked November, in this stacked kind of year we've had, and God of War up against God of War and that kind of stuff, and if it had been unfinished?
Yeah.
It'd be dead.
It'd be dead.
Well, I mean, it's a Bethesda game. It's going to be buggy as hell anyway.
Yes, so that's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is you release against God of War, and Sony put out God of War, and it is immaculate.
Yeah,
like, have you heard about any glitches in that game? It's just like it's just immaculate.
Yeah.
So I mean, we haven't got a release date for Starfield yet, but even if it was next Christmas, that'd be fine. Like,
I thought they said like February, didn't they?
I think they said first. I think they said first half of the year or something. I think Redfall has got is Redfall April or something. I don't know if it's official yet. I think both of them haven't got official dates, but I imagine I wouldn't be surprised if Starfield slipped to the end of the year, because I just think people need time. I mean, he was referencing Halo Infinite, obviously there, and they delayed it 1 year, and it didn't launch with the console, and that was probably the correct decision. But it probably hit them financially, and it probably hit them with this console generation, to be honest. Do we think Halo should have been delayed even more, because Forge and Co-op has now been released and literally no one is talking about it?
Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Exactly.
It's quite bad, isn't it?
I mean,
do you think... Yeah.
It might well have benefited by being so, but would they have sold as many Xboxes?
Yeah. Well, they kind of needed to bring it out.
Yeah, they did. Did it take the fall? That's the thing. It kind of did. Yeah, I mean, it would definitely. I would be more interested in Halo had it come out in a better condition with the things you're expecting. You know.
Yeah. But we did get a lot of time out of it. It's just that longevity factor. They released a new season, the winter update or whatever, recently, and we're the prime audience. Because I put in 100 hours.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
It's so hard for a game these days. It's so hard for a game to maintain a player base for more than a few months.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, I think unless you've got, well, even if you've got endless content, people will get bored of the loop.
Yeah.
Like, you know what
so
I mean?
many good games coming out.
Yeah. There's an abundance of things.
Yeah.
I mean, if Starfield had come out this November, I still think it would be bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
I still think actually it would be really difficult to compare to God of War, because God of War is like, what, 40 hours?
No, it's
Tops.
about 25 to 30. I think if you wanted to max it out, complete it 100% or something.
Yeah, whereas I expect 40 hours in Starfield would barely touch the sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I expect Starfield full story will be like 60.
Yeah, and then
but
actual world will be
with
200.
extras.
Yeah, those games like Fallout 4, you could probably complete it. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever actually completed it, but you could probably
25 hours.
Yeah,
if you
but
mainlined it. Yeah.
probably chucked 1,000 hours into that game.
Yeah.
So
look at Skyrim. You can mission
Skyrim,
that fast if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
You get through that storyline real quick, but that's not what you're there for.
It's all the world side content, the living in it
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? The getting home of an evening and saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this thing tonight. I'm going to go after that thing on the map."
Finding a weapon or
yeah, absolutely. That's the glorious part
I'm
of
going
it.
to go be a stealth archer again. Yeah.
yeah. But I do think it's so hard these days for even a game which is absolutely quality, which has loads of content. And like you say, if Forge was released at launch and co-op was there and everything that they promised was there, and they'd released a few more maps and stuff, would people still be playing it as much? Live service games are so hard to keep going. I mean, some of them do hit and they hit hard and they keep going, but there are countless live service games that just die, and Sony are planning to bring out like 10 of them or something in the next few years. Now they're hoping that just like a couple stick. They're probably working on like a 20% success rate.
Yeah, at best. Yeah, and
it's so fucking difficult.
Even amongst the like MMOs and everything else, they drop off so hard a couple months after a new phase. And then it's only when the next one comes around that it picks up again. So
well, what you can really see is Twitch viewership. So when you have like a new game, so like for instance, when Splatoon 3 came out, Twitch viewership on it was like 25, 30k people watching it, and now it's probably like 4k
or
4k, 4k. Yeah, it's just really the biggest Splatoon streamer that I know of was rocking around with probably just over 1,000 viewers or something.
Yeah,
and now he's got about 40% of that viewer base. And it's just hard, even on these games that are continually trying to pump out like content. It's just fucking difficult. So yeah, anyway, that's what Phil had to say. I'm sure we'll dip in with Phil next week and we'll have something new. But yeah, not much happened this week in the big news, to be honest. It wasn't a huge, other than Pokemon, which we'll be talking about. Not an awful lot of stuff has happened the last couple of weeks. I
think this always happens though when there's a bunch of new games out.
People are busy playing.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone's playing it, or the news is about the condition of the game, or how good it is, or whatever else. Fully agree. Think about when Cyberpunk released, or Elden Ring earlier this year. Like almost everything on all of the main sites and that you were watching on YouTube or whatever else was about them.
Yeah, that's true. Our news section was just flooded. But it went like 7 or 8 weeks where we talked about Cyberpunk in the news. It was mental.
Yeah, it was.
Great content.
We still mention it every week as well, without fail.
Great content. It's golden for it. And it's the gift that never stops giving.
Very true. Very true.
Like NFTs.
Absolutely, lovely.
God.
Oh, nice bring up.
Thank you.
Got to bring it up. Got to bring it up every episode.
Instead of that, shall we move on to the new releases, Ed?
All right, cool. I'll tell you what, it's a pretty slow week this week, but I'm gonna. We had a really slow week. Do you remember after February, during that hell of a big week, we had a really good dip off after that. For I think
nobody wants to be in the weeks after.
Exactly.
That lasted a while, yeah.
Yeah, because no one wants to be releasing games around this time because no one will play them. So.
Also, like Game of the Year, the Game of the Year awards, like all of their stuff has been announced. Like you're now outside of the Game of the Year stuff, so. Yeah. And it's very unlikely because of recency bias that you're going to feature in next year's Game of the Year either. So if you've actually got a decent game, it's a big decision. Like Callisto Protocol, it's a big decision to put it in December because you're basically just like sacking off any Game of the Year.
Well, wasn't Cyberpunk not involved in any of them?
I don't know whether that was because of quality.
Oh, it might have been.
No. It was there, but it was for all sorts of things that wasn't like best game.
Right. Okay.
As I remember. There was quite a lot of stuff on like the voice acting and stuff like that.
Right, okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's start off with Distera. I was going to call it Dysteria, but obviously there's no
Yeah,
I
it's
in it,
Dystera.
so
I heard it in their trailer. It is. I think that is how you say it.
Dystera coming out on PC November 24th. Dystera is a sci-fi-based survival game with particularly enhanced futuristic FPS gameplay. Along with FPS, I wish you'd say it outright first and then put FPS. That's fine.
Like you're doing a presentation for work.
Yes, exactly. You need to say it first, because then people that don't know, right, for the listeners, FPS is first-person shooter, but, like, what happens if someone doesn't know what that is?
Yeah, what if somebody thought they were talking about frames per second?
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben. Along with frame per second battles, that's pretty bad. 1 frame per second battles. That is...
Yeah, big time. Big time. They're talking about Pokemon now. No, we're getting too far in.
You can also experience other common survival game elements, such as looting, crafting, building, and team play. In the perishing Earth, players must find a way to prevent extinction while still ensuring individual survival, and choose whether to cooperate or compete with other players for their survival. The visuals actually look pretty good, in my opinion. Well, look good. I won't say really good.
I was about to get you to revise them myself.
Yeah. I mean, for a non-AAA game, I'm quite happy about the visuals.
Definitely.
Can build your own base, so obviously I'm all in. I will note this as well, it's not just PvP, which is great because I hate fucking PvP games like this, but it also has a PvE mode and a single-player mode. I'm a bit worried about the longevity of this game. I can't see... I mean, I'm all in. I'm going to build a base and everything, but what's the kind of point in it after that? But what do you guys think?
Just on the visuals bit that you said there, that one thing, I think conceptually, that sounds great. Like a first-person shooter, base building, survival game. So I watched the trailer, and I thought, this actually looks like decent visuals. It's quite good. A lot going on. Had a cool soundtrack. Then I watched the next video on Steam, and I'm not sure whether this was an alpha build or whether this is actually the real game, because it does not look good.
This is the thing with it. Still frames look real nice, but you sort of see the edges start to fray quite quickly, if you know what I mean. At least in all of the example videos I've seen so far. But
for me, I looked on PC for this and see where it had controller support, and it didn't say it. It didn't say whether it did or it didn't. And that's a game breaker for me, whether it's got controller support.
That's an odd hill to die on. But
fair and I don't think they're designing this game for someone like you, Ben.
Well, no, I think games like this, where they have controller support and mouse and keyboard support, so you can do the base building of the mouse and keyboard, and you have partial controller support. I think perfect. But yeah, you're right. They're probably not mouse and keyboard. This is for mouse and keyboard players, but that cuts off so much of your player base, even though it's on PC. You're trying to make a hybrid survival game here, though.
That's true. This is it. Let's go back to the game. The concept is really good. The concept of this is really good, and I don't. It's not an ugly game by any means either. It looks gorgeous at certain angles. So I think this could be a good one. I thought you'd like it, Eddie.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of that game that I absolutely love. And what's funny is, Ben, if you saw that game, fuck me, what game am I talking about?
Aren't you talking about the the sci-fi one?
That's it.
The one
that's
the one that you love. But it's old. Yeah. It's old, right?
Empyrean.
Yes, thank you. Empyrean Galactic Survival. That looks fucking ghastly, but my god, the mechanics are great fun, and it's got an endless gaming loop. So I think that's what they've gone for with this. Like, they're an indie developer, they haven't got much money, they've made it look as nice as they probably can, and I think they've got some good features in there.
Yeah, I mean, immediately I thought it looked good, but it's just delving a little deeper. I thought, the shooting looked...
fair.
Yeah. And these games that are first-person shooters, or frame per seconds, they really, they kind of die if their shoot mechanics and the look of it doesn't work. But so you'd have to play it in order to know that, though, wouldn't you? Because what was that game that we played a little bit? You played more than I did, Eddie. It was recent. It was a extraction looter based. It was like a Tarkov one, but it was on on planets or whatever.
The Cycle Frontier.
The Cycle Frontier, yes. Now that I thought had, because I actually, even though it hasn't got controller support, I actually hooked up a controller and I configured it and everything.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, you can. It just took fucking ages. It took me. I took longer to configure the controller than I did playing the game. It was awful. Like the gunplay was awful.
Yeah.
It probably was designed for mouse and keyboard, to be fair. but yeah, if it's not good gunplay, then you're kind of dead in the water, aren't you? So
yeah,
that's how this will live or die, I suppose.
Yeah, shame. I mean, I think I'll quite enjoy it, so I've got it wishlist.
Yeah. Wishlist.
Eddie lovely. Will barely notice it's an FPS. He'll just build a base.
I will.
Yes.
When someone shoots me, I'll be like, "What the fuck is this? Why the fuck is someone shooting me?"
But it'd be cool if you could go into AI.
Off the walls outside.
I saw you could go into like AI bases and stuff, and if you could like kill the people and then loot their bodies for
it does say you can
loot
enemy bases. So
fantastic,
yeah, that sounds great fun.
Yeah,
I like that. But the problem is with all these kind of games, there's always like little mechanics that put me off. Like, is it DayZ that you can go into the bases when they're not there and stuff? That upsetting.
Somebody can steal stuff from your base.
Yeah. And then there's of course always the scenario where you come across a player that's just way more advanced than you, and then you go, even if you're the better player, you just die because they got better stuff.
I got really fucked over in Ark on that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good old Ark.
When I didn't realise you had to put locks on things. Yeah. Bad times.
I don't think that's. Yeah, fine.
Bad times.
Fine. Next one, Warhammer 40k, or 40,000, I should say. Inquisitor Martyr. It's, Sororitas. Sororitas?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've complained before that Warhammer always have 3 names in the titles, but this is fucking ridiculous. But this is a DLC. It's coming out on PC November 28th. There's a new playable class. It's an Inquisitor with an Adepta Sororitas. It's Sisters of Battle background. New game mechanics. There's new items and item types. There's new passive skills. There's new perks, and there's new enchants. So if you're interested in that, go have a look. World of Warcraft Dragonflight coming out on PC November 28th. This is the biggie. Dragonflight. Well, actually, I think the first one was the biggie, but fuck you. The Dragonflights of Azeroth have returned. Called upon to defend their ancestral home, the Dragon Isles, surging with elemental magic and the life energies. I was going to say emerges then. Of Azeroth. The Isles are awakening once more, and it's up to you to explore their primordial wonder and discover long-forgotten secrets. Peter, I swear you just put stupid words in there like primordial in there.
I bet
it doesn't even fucking say that on the blurb, does it?
Ancestral, elemental, all these ones, yeah.
Why do they do that? So it's an expansion. You become a Dracathir evoker. You can specialise in preservation, which is like a healer, or devastation, which is ranged magic damage, and you explore the mystical Dragon Isles. Pete, obviously you're a big World of Warcrafter. I don't know if that's what you call you, but
crafter.
Are you excited or not?
It's not my space, man. This is this is a big one for a lot of people who play it,
right?
Because this is like the newest one for retail. So this. For those who don't realise, an expansion in World of Warcraft is like a 100-hour game, at least. And you'll then probably be playing 6 to 10 hours a week, every week, with it for a year or two, generally speaking. So they're pretty big, content-wise. But it's retail, which means they've simplified the game loop so much that I don't really want to play it, which is why I only play Classic.
That's too simple for you.
Sort of.
It's for noobs. It's for noobs.
Well, no. So they made the bosses have arguably got harder. It's the actual gameplay on your part that's got a bit more accessible.
You don't like accessibility?
No, I prefer.
No, you like to gatekeep. Yeah, I like that. I like that about you.
Yeah, I preferred it when it was annoying as hell.
Yeah, when it was really frustrating.
Not like pure original when it was so bad that you had to spend 50 hours grinding rep to get an armor upgrade. But like 2 expansions later when they'd got enough quality of life for me.
Yeah, to our listeners though, you play classic World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like you play a lot every week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I Probably 6 hours or so.
I mean, you play online with people, you do raids, you do all
Yep,
this.
yep,
You're all in.
I'm in the end game content on classic Wrath of the Lich King, which is the best expansion they had. So yeah, I'm still playing that. I still will be. Although, actually, as we mentioned in the news earlier, the sort of attention it gets has dropped off because of Dragonflight.
Really? Because people were dual wielding or something?
Yeah, and I mean, if you pay for one subscription, you get both. So you can just dip into both easily. So a lot of people will jump into this because there is a pre-patch, which means you've got early access to some bits of it. So they're already on it. So we had a noticeable drop-off this last week.
Could someone start, if they've never played World of Warcraft before, could they just start with Dragonflight, or do you have to do an element of the base game with no expansions?
Unless there's a package involving a boost, a level boost, you'd have to do the old stuff. But bear in mind that they've squished it all down and made it a lot quicker to get through these days.
Like, so you have to reach like the end game of the base.
Yes. Is it
game?
bad that I don't even know what the end game level is at the moment for Dragonflight? Because like Wrath of the Lich King Classic is 80, but they squished it back to 50 later on.
So that means you have to. So that means you have to play the original Classic.
Yeah, you have to play
World of Warcraft.
You have to play
to get to level 50 before you can do what you play now.
Yeah, the bit I play now, you have to get to level 70.
Yeah, but the actual game.
This gets very niche. Yeah, you'd have to play some of the rest of the game to get to the new content. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oof. It's a tough entry.
it's its own world, Ben. That was the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
I can see why you like gatekeeping.
It's difficult not to because there's so much terminology that makes it impossible.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, but it does. Yeah, what they are masters of their craft at holding their audience because it's almost impossible for a new person to just jump in. Like if I decided, I'll play World of Warcraft, unless I had a Sherpa like you to guide me through, I just wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah,
one of those.
But that's what keeps people like. RimWorld, like the depth of that game is so deep that that's what, once you learn all the mechanics and once you learn everything, you just play it for fucking any Paradox game ever existed is the same.
I was wondering how you were going to shoehorn RimWorld into the conversation, but you did it, and I respect that.
Yeah, I was going to go earlier with graphics, when we were talking about that a little while ago.
I almost mentioned it with Dysterra.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought I'd hold off. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a good segue, I think. So
made it 2 more games.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah. Right, next one. Gotham Knights Heroic Assault. You can have heroic assaults in RimWorld. You know that when you go to different.
I don't care.
Coming out on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox new next gen only. Pete's put that there, so I'm going to say it. November 29th. So Gotham Knights came out, I think, last month, didn't it?
It is a next-gen game, isn't it? It's not on.
Right.
There you go.
Good. There you go.
Casting... I mean, I wasn't sure either, but I put
Yes, I can tell by the way you went, there you go, as in, I don't know and I also don't care.
You heard it here first.
This is a new multiplayer mode. Yes. It's 4-player. So basically I found this little blurb on their website. It's not easy. They do not advertise this mode very well at all. Even when you click on the Heroic Assault button, it just comes up with the main screen, which just says Heroic Assault in it. And then when you go to learn more, it takes you to the frequently asked questions on their website. I mean, how fucking shit is that? Anyway.
That's amazing.
Separate from the main story campaign, the standalone mode supports up to 4 players in online co-op and provides a dedicated arena-like environment with specific objectives to complete and enemies to defeat on each floor, 30 floors in total. So that actually sounds quite fun, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, it's extra content to that game, I suppose. And it was very divisive, but the people that did like it, I've really liked that game. So I think it was more divisive for the 30 frames a second than anything else. But yeah.
Okay.
If you're into it, still playing it, then there you
go. Next one, The Night Witch, coming out on PC, PlayStations, Xboxes, and Switch, November 29th. The Night Witch is a Metroidvania adventure game with a fast-paced shoot-'em-up combat set in a beautifully hand-drawn world. Cast devastating card-based spells, forge close bonds, and make moral choices, all in your quest to save your home and discover who's behind the war golem invasion. I like the visual. It's like kind of hand-drawn, cartoony, but it's actually really nice. There's a free demo on Steam. I normally shit on these games, and I normally come to you two for kind of just to pick it up a bit, but I think this actually looks quite nice. What do you guys think?
I agree. Yeah, I think it looks pretty darn good. It's another Team 17 published one.
Oh, so they don't miss. I said it before Ben this time.
We say that about a lot of people until they miss, and then we just switch to a new one. You notice that?
Yeah, then they always miss.
Yeah, eventually they always miss. But until that point, they don't miss. So
that was deep, Pete. Jesus Christ. That's like fucking Batman, was it? They all turn into villains or some shit. Jesus Christ.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Yeah,
there you go.
Good reference. Yeah. No, I think this looks like a really fun game, and like anyone who's into Metroidvanias, I think might well be interested in this.
That's exactly my thoughts. If you're into Metroidvanias, this actually looks like a good one, doesn't it?
It does.
And if there's a free demo, and if it's on all platforms, I mean, this looks like it would be a great Switch game.
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
I would say now, only because I learned this lesson, if it says it's a free demo, but with Zero Sievert, when the game came out, the demo came off Steam. So I reckon get your demo in the next week before it comes out on the 29th. And then just because it might disappear. I can't even play that demo now, which is really sad because obviously I had it downloaded and everything.
Yeah, that does.
Oh no, you've got to spend the couple of pounds to
15 whole pounds sterling.
15 whole pounds.
Well, 10% off at the moment, so it's just
£13.50. You're gonna spend £13.50 to get that.
I bought that 84p game that I have not yet played, Ben. So
you're sick, and you're sick with that. You're sick in your mouth that you spent that money. I know you are. I bloody know you are.
I've worked out to shifts down the old supermarket just to feel good about spending that money.
And like nothing, we'll spend £100 on a night out, and you won't give a fuck. But
I won't even remember spending it either. No, that's the beauty.
No, but 85p on a computer game. Whew, oh boy, what a workout!
Could you imagine how bad it would get Freddie if you got him drunk in front of Steam?
Oh yeah. Until about 9 months ago, I used to purposely not have my card saved on Steam because I was exactly for that reason.
Because you were worried about splurging on 5 games and spending £7.50.
Buying like a £15 game or something.
Oh no! What a nightmare. Outrageous. Don't even get physical.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then what happens if it's not very good?
Oh no, I can't trade it in. I wish NFTs would make this possible. No.
Very good.
There we go.
To NFTs. Very good. Very good.
Anyway, back on the Night Witch. Do you not reckon Kirk would love this? Because this looks exactly like the type of game Kirk's like.
This is kind of a bit Ori-esque.
Ori-esque.
But a bit more fast paced.
Well, you think like Ori and Tunic made me go, I could see him liking this.
And I liked the fact that they said card-based, so there's like card mechanic. I do like a good card mechanic in a game, I'm not going to lie.
You like a good card.
Yeah, fair.
I bloody do.
God, bit odd. Right, last one. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, coming out on PC and Xbox Series X. I don't believe that. S and X.
Yes.
Okay. November 30th. Take back the city of Tertium? Tertium sounds better. Tertium. Yeah, I'm going to go
You're not
Tertium.
Yeah.
Tertium. No, that sounds like a fruit or something. From hordes of bloodthirsty foes in the intense and brutal action shooter, Warhammer 40,000 Darktide is the new co-op focused experience from the award-winning team behind the Vermintide series. As Tertium falls, rejects will rise. This is Vermintide with guns, really. The gunplay and melee looks quite good. It's mixed on Steam, but I have looked through all the reviews and a lot of them are saying it's just buggy as shit. So hopefully that will be ironed out on day of release, you know?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have expected that soon. But
just like Cyberpunk, all right? It'll be perfect.
Oh, it's going to be fairy, you say? Okay. No, basically what a lot of people have said about this is that the gameplay loop's awesome, and the optimization and actual bugs are not. Which
Where have the reviews come from? Has it been in early access?
it was early access,
early
I believe.
access.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so shit that they should wipe the reviews after early access, don't you think?
I mean, or at least have some kind of
Or separation.
Oh, separation.
that's it.
Early access reviews. And then, I like that idea.
That would be really good, because then you could see how the games come on.
You know what? It probably would help developers as well, because developers probably really worry about putting their game out too early on early access, because they're worried about all their fucking reviews being absolutely shite.
Yeah, because they've got the last 90 days or whatever. But actually, if you separated them out, it'd be, I'm sure they've thought about this.
I like that idea. We just come up with a gem there. Yeah.
But then when you've got indies that do this early access thing, and they've got like 14 reviews in early access and 2 in full.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Not the best.
That would just be sad, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah.
Just like this week's new releases. That's it. It's slow, but as I said, don't feel too bad, because we just had a fucking good, we've had a good month. So my pick of the week is actually going to be Dystera.
Yeah,
Dystera.
I thought it would be.
Yeah, it looks exactly my kind of game, and if it's one of those games that do actually like, I bought Empyrean Galactus 5 thinking that looked exactly like this type of game, and it turned out to be a fucking amazing game. So it could be in the gem. It could be shite, but it could be for that one listener who buys my pick of the week every week. This could be good, but it could be horrendous. So
yeah, if that listener could let us know how good it is, that'd be really appreciated. I love the idea of a listener out there just like, tell me what it is, which one is it? Please don't let it be expensive. Please don't let it be expensive.
Yeah, that's why he does it, because he knows I'm not going to pick an expensive.
Exactly. Oh, is this going to cost me more or less than 85p? Don't know.
84.
Good.
Right. On to what we've been playing.
We're done, yeah. We're on to what we've been playing. And I think we'll start with you, Ben, because, I mean, firstly, biggest release, I suppose, of the week, but also everything in the news.
Yeah, exactly. This is just carries on for the news as well. But this November has obviously been insane for games. Now, I've decided not to put pressure on myself, because obviously we've had God of War, Sonic, and all the other games that are coming out this month. I'm just going to make sure that I finish them in time for our Game of the Year show. And we've got Callisto Protocol, which I'm definitely going to finish before the Game of the Year show as well. So they'll be ongoing. They'll be played in the next few weeks. I think Callisto Protocol is the only other game that I'm going to be buying until our Game of the Year show. We'll see. plenty of time. We'll see, but plenty of time to be playing the games. So they've had minimal playtime this week. I did play 20 minutes of God of War. I don't know what that says about God of War. You can make your own
sweeping judgments based on that.
Yes, absolutely.
We will,
but
yes.
I played 20 minutes and then went back to the other games that I'd rather be playing. So I'll get back to that. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out on Friday. It's now Monday, so I've played a few hours. First of all, let's just start with the gameplay. So for those that aren't aware, brand new Pokemon game, next generation of Pokemon. This is now their first open world Pokemon game, so there's 3 different storylines you can follow, which is pretty cool. You got the normal gym leaders story, which is where you go around getting the badges for 8 gym leaders and try to become the best Pokemon trainer. That is kind of the general loop of Pokemon.
Yes.
General storyline, but they've also added on another storyline, which is Titan Pokemon, where you go and search those out and defeat those. And you've got a Team Rocket, the new Team Rocket, whatever they're called, I can't remember, which is also littered about the map to do those missions, those story missions as well.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. They've opened up the story, plenty of different things to do. The first couple of hours of the game are that standard slow, endless clicking through text that Pokemon is now, that I get every time. It's not as bad as Arceus though, because Arceus was I hated the first couple of hours of Arceus. It was just like, holy shit, let me play the fucking game. But even in this game, it's so weird. Like they say, right, immediately the fucking director of the school or whatever comes to your house for some real reason and says, here are the 3 Pokemon you can choose from. And then he leaves them with you and says, come round down the road when you want to make your choice. It's like, no, I'll just do it now. It's fine. They just make you do things. You're like, oh, now I have to walk over there and click this button again and speak to you again for no apparent reason when there's nothing for me to do in the meantime. It's just a bit stupid. It's just Pokemon just being fucking Pokemon. But anyway, you get through that, and then you get through the first little route that you go down to your school and things like that. And you can start to see that this world is actually open. And then after you've done the little school bit and all that kind of stuff, it is a truly open world. And it emphasizes to a sickening level that this is choose your own adventure, go wherever you want. And it says that repeatedly. It's like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to that gym first or there or there or there. It's do whatever you want. And
spend the next 25 years before you become world champion. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let's spend 25 years to become world champion. Yeah. But you do, like, in the opening routes and stuff, there are good, diverse Pokemon in the starting kind of areas as well. And you actually get quite a diverse team from the start, which is good, and a better team than you usually would on other Pokemon games. So that's very good. They've added quality of life stuff in. So you don't have to, when you're just riding around the world, you can send your lead Pokemon just on auto battling. So when there's Pokemon in the wild, which there are everywhere. So that's how they do it now. They don't do this kind of like walking through tall grass thing or hidden Pokemon. The Pokemon are just all around. You just walk into them, or you throw your Pokeball at the Pokemon to initiate a battle, or you tell your lead Pokemon just beat them up and kill them. Or not kill them, incapacitate them.
Okay, yeah.
But then they go around getting experience, and it gets it for your whole team as well. But it's just at a lesser level, so you get far less experience for doing that. But when there's 10 Pokemon just like around you, you can just send your lead Pokemon out just chinning other Pokemon. So that's quite.
It's become
that's
a
quite
much
good.
more aggressive game. Okay.
When I was playing this, I was thinking, and when you. I was like, we think it every time, but just like, what a weird concept. It's like capturing animals, putting them in a cage, and then unleashing them to fight other animals. But then under the veil
so
that they
cockfighting.
Yes, but under
that's what it is.
Under the veil that they like you.
They enjoy this.
Yeah,
they spend their entire life trapped in a phylactery, and you throw them into a fight and then put them back in it.
It's fucking. They love just being outside.
They never
live
eat
for it,
but they absolutely love being outside.
They're just conditioned to love it. fucking weird. But anyway, forget that. It's Pokemon. The whole game centers around like the map and the traversal and stuff like that. Like the first couple of hours, or well, actually really close to the start, you get given your legendary Pokemon, which essentially you ride around the world. Now you can't use that to fight because it's hurt. It's not capable of fighting at the start, so it's just used to travel on, which is just. I did think Arceus's way of traveling round was better than this one so far, but you work with what you got. But the map and the traversal at the start does feel a little bit cumbersome, and I do hope it gets better. The map does this weird thing, right, where by default it turns where you turn. So wherever you're facing, whenever you open up the map, the large map, it's turned so wherever you're looking. Now that means that you get very hard to get a grip of the land when you're doing that, and that's on by default. You turn that off. And then, but that's okay to turn it off, and then it's all north, south, east, west, and you open it every time. But when you go to the big map, it doesn't tell you which direction you're facing. So basically, a Pokemon that went, oh, right, yeah, we're going to put a map in the game. Yeah, lovely. Right, how should we do a map? All right, well, all these other games over there, they all do maps. They fucking, yeah, they've been doing that for years. They fucking love a map. Yeah, they're really good at it. All right, should we look at those? No, let's do it our own way. What? What? Look, you got all these other games out there that literally... The simplest thing is just open a map, tell you where you are. Very, very odd design choice. But so basically, I have to look at my compass.
Is it better than Fallen Order, map-wise?
Wow. Actually, Fallen Order, you couldn't tell head nor tail of anything. So Fallen Order is absolutely tragic. At least I've worked out a system here, Pete. So I've worked out a system. Okay. What I have to do is look at my compass in the bottom right-hand corner. I have to turn myself so I'm facing north. Then I open my map. Then I open my map, so my map is in line. So then I go, okay, from this position right now, I need to head right. So I'm going east.
Nice.
So then I turn off the map and I go right. That's how I'm now doing it. So fucking weird.
If the landmark you're navigating by is south, you're going to struggle. But yeah,
it's fucking Pokemon, man. It's mental.
At least the explanation's voice acted to you, though.
Yeah, exactly. At least it's fully voice acted. I mean, obviously, a franchise like that has got to be.
We'll get onto it, guys. Don't you worry. So yeah, the traversal. Hoping that one gets easier and better as I go through, which I do think it does. I'm hoping that my Pokemon will learn how to climb and fly a bit pretty soon. It can now swim because I've done something that allows it to swim. So that opens up some area, and I hope it really does soon, because it's one of those things where you think you can go everywhere, but Pokemon is notorious for gating areas off by particular things like that. So I think you have to learn a bit. So there isn't a set route, but there will be a route which is easier to go through because of these certain navigation tools. But yeah, there we go. So the game has clicked. The game absolutely has clicked with me, but the traversal mechanics have not clicked. So navigation is hard work. It will click though. It will be there. Otherwise, it is still a Pokemon game. I've played a few hours. I want to say like 4 hours. I've done one gym and I've done a Titan, and I am really enjoying it. But with this, going back to the news, with this, it has come with a bit of baggage.
Can we spoil this section in one quick way, Ben?
With one quick line.
One quick line to spoil this. I just want to, dear listener, let you know that this section is over a page of our document long. And now go ahead, Ben.
Yes, the bat is labelled the bad. Yeah. It looks so bad. This game looks bad. It looks like a dirty money grab from an eShop game. It looks rough. The Pokemon themselves look quite decent, but the environments are fucking tragic. In the open area, you go to this cave to get with your like legendary or whatever, and I was just looking around. I was like, wow, this is so awful. Like this is, Arceus looked so much better. Every other Pokemon game has looked so much better, and it is a massive shame. And I know it's an open world game, and it is different for that. You know, that makes it harder, and you do have to downscale a little bit. And there have been a lot of games on the Switch which have been open world which don't look great. Xenoblade 3 looks okay around the open world. You've got Breath of the Wild actually looks really good, but then you got things like Phoenix Immortals, whatever, on Switch doesn't look fantastic around the world, which it does look okay, but it doesn't look fantastic. So I'm not expecting the world from this, but this is the worst looking first party game, and I am calling it first party, even kind of Pokemon Company, partly owned, whatever, on the Switch. It's the worst first party game. The frame rate is bad. It's sub 30 and it's unstable.
Wow.
The characters that are not in the foreground look like they're running about half frames, 15 frames a second or something. And even the map in the bottom right hand corner looks like someone's clicking through a fucking PowerPoint presentation. It's so slow. It's like the frame rate is so bad as you're turning. It's like it's weird. It's just like, and it's glitchy. The game's glitchy. There's countless videos online already.
Yes, yeah, we've heard about that bit.
So, and also for anybody playing the game, one thing, supposedly the game currently has a memory leak, which they'll probably patch out, but it's got a memory leak, which means that the longer you're playing the game, the worse the performance will get. So if it's getting bad after a few hours or something, just save your game, close down the game, go to your home screen, press Y, close down the game properly, restart it, and then it'll work better. But they will patch that, I'm sure. So I said last week, I quote, it will have no voice acting, which we knew. It will have terrible frame rate, and it will look awful. And I was right.
Yeah,
I was right.
It's Game Freak. Yeah.
However, if you do love Pokemon games, you will see past this, and it won't really worry you.
Yeah, because every fucking Pokemon fan's like that.
Yeah, because it
it's the
doesn't.
best Pokemon ever.
Yeah, it doesn't kill my experience. I would love it to look better. It doesn't kill my experience. It's just a bit of a shame. Hopefully they can patch, but they actually need to fundamentally change the textures of certain things. So it's not just performance. I mean, if it was running really smoothly, it'd probably look a lot better. But the textures themselves, especially in the environments, just look shoddy as fuck. But the missing voice acting, I know I bang on about this, I really, really do, and you made a joke about it, but it's so fucking jarring. So they write these lines, like these excited lines, and the characters make these excited fucking actions, and and it's silent. It's just fucking silent. It's what the fuck? And it's like they've had to scale things back in the world based from their ambition. So like shops and things like that, you go in to enter a shop, there isn't an inside to the shop, it just brings up the shop's menu. And like in the school, you fast travel around the school as opposed to like searching out the place yourself. And when you go to these towns, which actually do feel cool, like you walk into the town, it doesn't load a town, the town's just there on the map, you just walk there. And it does feel like a lived-in little town. Loads of people, it's bustling around and stuff like that. But like you can't really go into the buildings yet, from what I've seen. Yeah. You can go to like the gym or whatever. But so it's things like that where you just like, okay, they've really had to make concessions based on their ambition here, and it's got a hell of a lot of issues. And so coming back to the news this week, a lot of the news has been, is this Game Freak's fault, or is this the Switch hardware showing its age? And I think the Switch absolutely has been showing its age recently, so Bayonetta, things like that. But I actually think, and not many people are saying this, I don't think I've heard anybody really say this, I actually think it's a Pokemon Company issue, as opposed to the blame being on Game Freak here, because I don't think it is the Switch hardware. Like, Breath of the Wild came out 5 years ago, and I mean, I think when you go back, Meet Your Hero, it's not as good as we remember how it looked, but it looked pretty good. And yeah, it's this Game Freak. Game Freak have put out a bad performing game, and it doesn't look good, and that is Game Freak's fault. But I think it's more of a Pokemon Company issue. So Game Freak, these games work on a development cycle about 2.5 to 3 years, and that is shorter than most AAA games. Most AAA games are like 4 or 5 years, aren't they?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And some longer. Now the problem that Game Freak have is that if it's a bit broken, like this game, it has to release. It has to come out. If anybody else had submitted this game to Pokemon for release, to Nintendo for release, because they have to submit games to make sure they work, I don't think this would have been approved. It's not like it's broken, but I don't know. There are glitches and stuff people are finding and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it would have been approved, but the Pokemon Company have TV shows, they have cards, they have films, they have merchandise, all for this generation of Pokemon. It has to release.
Yes.
It can't not. And you might be out there thinking, yeah, but if a game's not ready, you have to give it the time it needs to get. No. That's the answer. Game Freak would go, all right, can we have more time? No.
Mm-hmm. This is the issue. Like, Pokemon is such a big franchise that it's more important to them just to have it out than for it to be brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically, you think of all the other ones that do yearly releases. They will roll out as well. I'm talking FIFA, Championship Manager, and most Call of Duties, to be fair, where it's like a yearly release, just keeps coming. They are not going to stop doing that, and Pokemon is just the most extreme example of it.
It is the most extreme example because it's the biggest one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's absolutely monstrous. Now the Pokemon Company is owned by Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures. So it's a third. So people out there be like, oh, take Pokemon away from Game Freak. They obviously can't develop for it. Like, they produce these shit-looking games. Never happening.
Yeah.
Game Freak own Pokemon Company. As much as Nintendo do, Game Freak are the Pokemon Company. Yes. So it ain't going anywhere. They might get some help here or there or whatever, but it ain't going anywhere. But the developers themselves, they're governed by this Pokemon entertainment schedule with all this stuff. Like, if you delayed this game, you'd have to delay every single thing they've got planned, and they've probably got a 5-year cycle or something. And there's probably an issue here that the DS games and the handheld games, the Game Boy games, things like that, probably 2.5 to 3 years was a development cycle. Remember, like Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Red, like they're fucking wonderful. Like those games are fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
But they, the development time is just not the same as these things. And
you still can go into every building there, Ben. Most of them, but not every one.
Yeah, absolutely. But now they have to put the game on TV. Like now it's on the Switch, which has to go TV as well. Like there's just so much to it. But I think because of this schedule and the fact that they plan this schedule so far in advance, I don't believe that this will ever change or even can change over the next few years unless the Pokemon Company looked at all the feedback they're getting now and everybody saying, oh, because the Switch 2 was trending. Like the idea of a Switch 2, because they were just like, well, this game can't run in it properly. But unless the Pokemon Company took this to heart and said, we need to completely rework our schedule for the next few years in terms of everything else we've got going on to allow them more time, or to maybe skip, heaven forbid, skip a game to get a really, really good one. You see some of these, like some user created images of what the game could look like in Unreal Engine 4 and all this kind of stuff. It's like, unless they took that extra time, that's not going to happen. And why would they?
Well, you think they need to sort of do something drastic, like hiring another team of developers, giving them like an 8-year cycle and having the other ones just roll stuff out in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then hope that after that, having the extra team means that you can
I tell you what, Pete, they did that with Diamond and Pearl, Diamond and Pearl recently. They let somebody else handle the like remat, whatever you want to call it, version where they released it on the Switch, because obviously it's so another team handling it, and it's whether they bring in somebody else to actually help with these games. But equally, it's like, or maybe to make the world, like bring someone in to make the world on these games, and then you just fill it in, because Creatures, I think, do the Pokemon themselves.
Yeah,
I think they're the company that actually do the development on that. I think, but I don't know. There's just not a lot of time that they've got to do this. They need to get this out the way, then they need to be working on the next one, and it's a whole mentality thing. I don't necessarily think at all that this is a Game Freak talent issue or a Game Freak issue. I think this is a Pokemon Company mentality issue, that they can't, that they fundamentally got this schedule and they're fucking up as a result. So the game, I'm going to continue playing. I'm loving playing it. So that's that. Like, the idea and the scale of the game seems fantastic. I just want to know how they deliver it, because as I said, I'm a few hours in, and this is one of those games that I just play to death. You know, it's Pokemon, and I'm having a lot of fun, and it's a great pick up and play game because there's Pokemon everywhere, and it's great. It's 75 on Metacritic at the moment.
Ooh.
And Pokemon games usually get about an 80. Now this has a 75, and from people who've played a lot more of this game, the general consensus is that if there wasn't the technical issues, it looked a bit better, this would have been closer to a 90. So a genuine kind of Game of the Year candidate. And what a shame. What a shame.
What an unchangeable shame,
unchangeable shame. But you know what? It'd probably be the biggest Pokemon release ever or something like that. So.
Well, that's what I mean. You're saying about all these changes, but unfortunately all these companies go by sales. And
yeah, exactly. Do they need to do that? No, they probably don't.
Let's look at the sales. Are probably the biggest selling Pokemon of all time. Right? No. We did a great job.
Am I going to be deterred from buying the next one?
No.
Nope. Not at all. And you know, the Pokemon Company are probably going to look at this and say, "Oh, it's weird that there's so much negative feedback and people are saying you shouldn't buy a game." And it's weird when we've sold
they're not
millions.
even looking at that. They're literally just looking at their bank balance. They're not reading the news.
No, they pay one Harris staff member to look at all that stuff.
It's weird that this obscure website called like IGN is saying that it's shit, because look at our bank balance, it's fucking massive. We opened up a specific bank account just for this. It's made so much money.
Need another.
But it's I think as I said, with all these games that are coming out in November, we're going to be talking about them for game of the year or not, depending on whether they get in there. But the next couple of weeks I'll be updating on various parts of these games as we go through. At the moment, the technical shortcomings are not killing my experience. I found it more funny than anything. I wasn't one of these people like, oh no, this is terrible. I just laughed. When I first started playing it, I was like, oh boy, this is naughty. This does not look good. But it is a crazy shame that the biggest gaming franchise in the world can't produce, through probably the fault of itself, a decent looking video game.
Yeah, that is quite poor.
It is what it is.
Right.
Anyway, Pete, can you talk about a good-looking game?
Quick break. Hold on. Sorry. Need to take a quick break. I'm bleeding. Back in a sec.
Okay.
Sorry.
That sounds very... Okay.
How can you be bleeding? This is probably the safest activity there is, isn't it? Podcasting.
Well, to move on to a game that's a bit better looking, although it does have one of the very same problems, Ben, I wanted to talk a bit more about Pentiment.
Oh, lovely. Brand new to Game Pass, right?
Brand new to Game Pass. And I know I mentioned I'd installed it last week and that I liked the first 20 minutes or so, but I'm now about halfway through. And
fantastic.
Yeah, I'd done quite a lot to avoid researching this game as well, because it's not that long and, it's just one to throw yourself into. So without spoiling it, it's a murder mystery type in 3 acts, where you're playing as a medieval artist who starts out working on illuminating manuscripts in a monastery. So that's sort of the setup you're given. And from the moment the murder mystery part starts, you actually have a time constraint against you. So it's counting down until the actual investigator arrives, and you're trying to put together evidence beforehand.
Cool.
Before they get there. And that factor is actually a brilliant one for the gameplay, because you can't pursue all the leads. You can't follow up on everything. You don't have time to really investigate it properly. So you just have to find enough info to convince this guy of a different option than the one that's been given to him as the murderer. Right. And that was actually a really interesting way of doing it, especially for Obsidian, who normally I expect to explore everything. You know what I mean? Just jump into it, go everywhere, find every back alley, dead end, all of it. This one, you really can't do that. You don't have that option. And it leads, I think, to slightly more unique endings for different players as well. And the way the time is set up, you sort of have sleep or night time, then your first meal, then work, a second meal, work, and then the third meal, and back to the sleep phase.
Oh, classic 3 meals a day, lovely.
Exactly, yeah. But the meals are actually quite important, because they that's how you get to know the NPCs. And sort of who you choose to eat with will give you different information or different favoritism from the different NPCs, and they all have an impact. So that was a really interesting little mechanic to have in there, and it meant you kind of went out of your way to go and find different people to talk to, which I thought was a really neatly designed system like this, because it's all set in one town, so you kind of get to know everyone there.
Yeah.
Which was really good. And it's obviously beautifully stylized. I'm sure you've seen the artwork in the background, but if you haven't, go and have a look. And it's obviously got a massive attention to detail.
I mean you could tell us what it looks like.
That
would be helpful.
Well, it's done as sort of okay.
We're on a podcast, Pete.
It's sort of partway between the Bayer tapestry and the illuminated manuscripts of like really old books.
It's really leaning into that art style of the time,
so,
right?
So you are an illuminator. That's kind of what you're doing. So when you move chapters, you turn pages, things like this.
I have no fucking idea what an illuminator is.
They drew huge pictures in books.
I would have thought that'd be somebody holding the torch.
Do you know what this reminds me of? And I know this is bad, and Pete, you're going to hate this being a fucking history buff, but it reminds me of Monty Python, because I know they use this type of illustration a lot.
Yes, very much so. That's actually a good one for most people to get it from. Think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I think they show it a couple of times.
They do it a few times, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And that's your job in the game. So they've kind of lent into it very heavily. And even the way the clock moves and everything else is stylized that same way. So, yeah, it's gorgeous to look at. And everyone talks in a different script, if that makes sense. And we're going to come into the biggest fall down of this game as well shortly. But all of them have sort of like a different handwriting or a different style.
Do you find that handwriting hard to read? Like I was looking
Some
at
of them can be, to be honest. Some of them can be a
why?
bit tricky. But one thing I did like about it is that occasionally people make mistakes and then it'll scratch itself out and correct it.
Oh, that is nice. That is cool.
Yeah, I quite like little touches like that are really good, and they've paid a huge amount of attention to the time period it's set in. There was even a story that came out earlier this week, one of the few that wasn't Pokemon related this week, where someone had reported bad Latin or fake Latin to the developers, and they've already fixed it.
Right, really?
Less than a week later, they've already fixed it. Yeah. So someone who actually knew the Latin they were going for had been like, guys, you got this wrong, and they've done it. They've changed it. It's done.
Nice.
So yeah, there's clearly a lot of care and a huge amount of attention that's gone into it. But the one big failure of this game is much the same as the Pokemon franchise, which is voice acting would have made this an absolute banger.
Is there no voice acting?
There's no voice acting. This game is legitimately brilliant. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to playing more of it. But you have to be into reading a lot. Like, a lot. Like what Ben talks about with the first 2 hours of, endless clicking. Yeah, you've got that in this. That's one of the
only thing
features.
that, because I also thought that about, and I reckon this game you'll love as well, Pete, Citizen Sleeper.
Yeah,
I think
really
you'd love that.
Mm.
The only this though, at least the reading is like a sentence or two at a time, right?
Yes, for the most part. Yeah,
which is better.
It is, and it doesn't feel inaccessible. It's just I know it's a barrier to more people playing it.
You know what, Pete? Yeah. I was really looking forward to this with you saying such high praise about it, and I was going to choose it as my weekly do with my missus game, but she hates reading so far away from the TV without her glasses on, so that just made this game a definite to a absolutely not game, which is devastating.
Yeah, that is the biggest problem with it. And while the soundtrack is pretty good, it's very thematic, it does keep you engaged. Not having speaking when you're doing so much interaction with characters and when so many dramatic things are going on it feels really limiting. Now that we've got used to having sort of voice acting everywhere.
Imagine if it got the Disco Elysium treatment, though, and did get a full voice acting to it. You know, it was made by 15 people.
Yeah, I do. And this is the thing. If this had voice acting, this would be like 9 out of 10 for me, easily. It's really, really good.
You just changed your mind there, because on these notes here, you've got guaranteed 10 out of 10.
I should have put 9. I'd never go 10.
you flip reversed on your fucking...
No. It's because I rarely go 10 for the same reason you don't, Ben, in the idea of perfection, you know?
No, I don't do that. That's what Eddie said. You're like Eddie then.
Fine, yes.
Oh, you've literally changed it on the notes now.
I have now, yeah.
You can't have consistency. Okay, lovely.
Even on that, can't have it. It would be right up there. It would be... I can't praise it highly enough for the amount of enjoyment I've got out of the game. It's just such an obvious thing that's missing for me. And I know there have been reports since, by the way, that the only reason this game could be made is because of Game Pass.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that one is a huge credit to Game Pass, because this game is brilliant. It's really good. I mean, I finished the first act having seduced a nun, sent a potentially innocent person to the gallows in exchange for someone who was definitely innocent. And sort of messed up lots of personal lives in this town. It was hilarious. The whole thing.
Now I see why you like the game, right? Now I get it.
Game Pass. It's the reason, because this looks boring as shit.
On the outset, I can't blame you for saying that. But it's
it looks it. I'm not saying it is. The only reason that I'd consider playing it is because it's Obsidian.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
that would be my in. And Game Pass is the reason why this can be made. And IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. Like, when you're into this, and I'm so glad, because when you said you're going to play it, I thought to myself, like, I might give it an hour, and you might go like, yeah, I can see this would be appealing, but it's not for me, blah, blah, blah. But I'm so glad that you've taken to it. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is a really, really good game. I can't get away from saying that. it is just such a shame that more people won't play it for a few things that could have been rectified. You know what I mean? But yeah, let's hope it does get Disco Elysium treatment.
There's a few things that are working against it. I mean, it looks like it's boring as shit. You have to read a lot. There's no combat. Like there's a lot of things that will put people off. Basic players like myself.
Yes, yeah. Basic was the word I was saying yesterday.
Yes. I accept that. Lean into it.
Yeah, but think of games like Myst and Monkey Island. There's a crowd for this.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is.
A lot of them, I think, would get a huge amount out of it. And I think more people would again with voice acting, basically.
Well, I actually heard one of my favourite games is A Night in the Woods. And I heard if you liked A Night in the Woods that this is perfect for you. So I've said all that to be, facetious and such. But yeah. But I do actually like the look of it. And I do like these types of games. Like I loved Oxenfree, games like that. But that does have voice acting.
Yeah. And I think Citizen Sleeper was a good one to relate it back to, because that also was a really fun game.
Yeah.
Could have been improved.
That had too much reading for my liking.
Oh, there was a lot of reading in Citizen Sleeper, yeah.
It's a ready.
It is. This one is too, but an even better ready. There you go.
Are you going to put it as your game of the year, Pete? Maybe one of your selections?
I'm going to get a bit further through. I'd quite like to see how it plays out, but it could easily sneak in,
Ooh. And then we'd all have to play it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
To read.
Yeah.
I'd be forcing Ben to read, which is an
I'd probably have to play it in advance. Yeah, okay. You're telling me I need to put that on the list. Okay, right. So I'll play it before God of War then.
There we go.
Jokes again. I don't know.
You'll play 20 minutes of God of War and then switch to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I need a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
All right, that's on to me then.
It is.
Well, me and you, Benny.
Yeah.
So we've been playing Wars. Oh, what was that for?
So I was just going to say, before you start, we should probably say that this kind of is the beginning of the feature as well. We mentioned at the start of the show, the feature is on modern day shooters and sort of the different game modes within it. And, DMZ in particular, but Warzone generally, Warzone 2, they are game modes within that, aren't they? So
it provoked the feature. This release, I think, it's really provoked our thoughts on the feature.
Yeah, but I don't want to derail you too badly. So do talk about this, and then we'll talk about the ones that led to it.
All right.
Yeah.
So Warzone 2 is it's the follow up to Warzone 1, I guess. It came out last week. For those of you who don't know, Warzone is a battle royale game, which means loads of people fight out for first place. There's only one remaining at the end, or one team remaining at the end, and the circle usually gets smaller from gas or whatever until everyone's dead, apart from one team. Simple as that, really. This one's the second one, obviously, Warzone, and with it, they've released DMZ mode, which is kind of a Tarkov kind of game. I think I don't know if they've ever admitted to it, but it's almost like their answer to Tarkov. It's kind of a looter shooter game, so it's the same map as Warzone, Warzone 2, but the idea is to go in, complete missions, obviously kill people as well. You can do that. There are AI in it, and there are players in it as well, but the missions are completely different. So you get the missions, you go in, you do certain things, and then you get weapon skins, you get unlocks and all this sort of stuff, and it kind of all filters down to Warzone. So, for example, I'm playing a hell of a lot of DMZ just to level up guns, to get certain blueprints, so that therefore I get it in Warzone. Is that explained enough, Ben?
Yeah, I think because the DMZ is, as you said, it's an extraction looter. So you go in, get your stuff, get out. With missions involved, and I think that's it. It's wonderful because the COD kind of universe all ties together in terms of its multiplayer through to Warzone and now DMZ. They're all different modes, all tied together with unlocking different guns, having different attachments, and getting your own perfect loadout and for your playstyle. And that's what it all enables. And DMZ is just another mechanism to enjoy a game mode, but also to unlock stuff to create your own perfect loadout for your playstyle.
Yeah, I'm going to go one step further and say I think everyone is seeing DMZ as that, exactly what you've described, as their way of getting better guns, better attachments for going into the Warzone with their mates and hopefully winning. But I think, and we're going on to what I'm going to say later on, DMZ seems so good already that it's almost... I get huge Tom Clancy's Wildlands vibes off this game. Now, obviously, there's no extracting, but the mission seems... Honestly, there are some bits that I'm doing that I sometimes think I'm fucking playing that game. So that I think if it got big enough and it got enough media coverage, then I think people who like their single player games will play this, and I highly recommend them to do it. Because, like, for example, I'm enjoying this so much that I'm taking off all my missions when I'm not playing with you, Ben. I take off all my missions and I go in just to help my teammates as the kind of heavy guy, just to bulk up the numbers and help them out. It's an absolute joy to play. But anyway, let's get on to the basics. The guns for Warzone and DMZ, just like Call of Duty, they're incredible, aren't they, Ben?
Yeah,
holy
the gunplay is fantastic.
I've
better than the last game, aren't they?
Yeah, I've said it before. They have some sort of formula to just beat all their competition in gunplay. My God, like, I mean, comparing it to all other first-person shooters, when you pick up a gun, I have left the vibration on, which I know you shouldn't. You should turn it off because it gives you a disadvantage when you're in a one-on-one gunfight against other players. But because it's just so good, it adds to the thwack and the sound and the. It does. And when you kill someone, you feel on top of the world, don't you?
Yeah, they've got the sounds, they've got the mechanic. Like when you kill someone, you get a particular like clink. There's like a like there's a thing that goes. They're just masters of their craft.
We're throwing around, guys.
Yeah,
well, it is a clink. It is a clink. it goes clank.
What they're great at, because they've got the gunplay down. They've got the gunplay like to this almost perfect level, and they're trying to make all these. It seems like, and we're on the feature, we'll talk about the different types of things, but they've got everything covered. They've got the multiplayer. They've got the Battle Royale. They've now got the Extraction Looter. They even got a version of multiplayer called Ground War, which is basically Battlefield. Like, they've got all of these modes kind of covered, and the gunplay is just fantastic. The only thing that's letting it down a little bit is the servers. They do have some glitch, and you know, this live service, so they're going to have to iron this stuff out. And the DMZ is beta, isn't it? Like, I know we're having a great time with it at the moment, but there are a few things that they could do to this to really turn it up a notch.
So right now, I think it is it's difficult. I think it's like an 8 out of 10. I'm really enjoying it. I think the visuals are incredible, the guns are, but then there's also the non-stop loop of having fun. I think with only a normal amount of development, I think this can be a 10 out of 10 game for me. Literally a 10 out of 10. But all they just need to iron out a few things. And I'm going to even be really optimistic and say they released this with the big beta sticker on it. So I think they almost started this and went, we'll see what the reception is, because people might hate this and go, absolutely not. And then they would slowly just let it die into existence, right? But everyone's saying how good it is. Even the hardcore Warzone streamers are going, DMZ. I just watched Jay God's video released today about how he's actually playing more DMZ than Warzone. So I think that...
So are we.
Yeah, so are we. And we always go on Warzone, but look, we're loving this so much. Yeah.
Me and you have played like quite a few evenings just fucking playing this.
Just getting some playing Warzone. Done. Yeah, absolutely.
It's fantastic.
And I think just all they need to do, I've actually got a fucking list of things. There's only a few things. I think they need to do like an economy system. Like it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to link a lot to Tarkov here because they have tried to copy Tarkov. There are even the little things like they have secret caches in the ground, which is directly stolen off fucking Tarkov. But anyway, if they had an economy system where like you could buy things to go into the next run, like maybe armor plates or things like that, or maybe self-revs, and then there was more incentive to take things out that are more valuable, Therefore, you're putting your money to good use. Same with the deconstructing weapons. At the moment, there's no fucking point. But it'd be great if you got parts for your guns. I would love it, Ben, if they even went so far into this economy system where you could buy attachments for the weapons that you find. Don't get me wrong, I hope they're expensive so that you try and grind out that money.
Brilliant.
That would be brilliant. So those weapons you find on bodies and you extract, maybe you buy a couple more attachments and that makes that gun really good for your next round. Something like that. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm going too far, but even a simple economy system would be I think useful.
A simple economy system, because at the moment when you bring out your cash, you basically use it to, if you've had an insured gun that you've lost when you've gone into the DMZ, it takes down the time, the timer, the lockout timer, before you can use that again.
But also, Ben, another problem there is if you have extracted with your insured weapon, there's literally no point, is there? Because there's no timer down on it.
Yeah, there's no timer, so you've taken cash out and there's no reason to have it.
There's
so it would be great. What would be great at the moment, this is in beta obviously, but what would be great is if you extracted with cash, it actually held it as cash and then you could buy stuff with that. And even if they're really expensive in the economy system, it doesn't matter if it's really expensive because then it's just more incentive to get cash out. And secondly, at the moment, your stash of items that you've taken out of the DMZ consists of largely one-time use equipment like gas masks and stuff like that, but you can only have one of them in your inventory, and keys to access certain things in the DMZ, but also guns. Now, if they had a wider selection of inventory that you could extract from the DMZ and keep on a permanent, semi-permanent basis, that would be great. That would really expand it. I think all they need to do is add an inventory system and an economy system, and this game is basically a perpetual, like, you could just do this forever.
Oh, you could. Yeah. Because right now, the only reason to kind of do it forever is to get you, because they do have special, like, Juggernaut missions, which are really hard, and then you get, like, a blueprint, don't you, Ben?
Yes.
So I guess there is technically an infinite loop, because they will, like on the old Warzone, they will keep on releasing new blueprints. But that doesn't quite seem enough. So if they just released an economy system just to make it keep on going, maybe a couple more things that they could just make it a full-time game. My God. Oof.
Yeah. And they copied on the DMZ, obviously, is the main attraction, which is Warzone 2, which we haven't really said. No. We have played quite a bit of, but it's Warzone, just almost, they've taken out a lot of the stuff which was almost unrealistic, like
the slide
flying
cancelling
around the map on different balloons and slide cancelling, all this kind of stuff. They've made it, what they've done primarily in Warzone and through the multiplayer and this Call of Duty as a whole is removed the movement and made it a lot harder to move, like slide cancelling and things around the map, like the quick movement. So therefore reducing the skill gap between the casuals and the people who are excellent, really, really good. Because one of the complaints the last Call of Duty and the last Warzone was that the skill gap was too large, where a casual player just couldn't play the game because they just get absolutely destroyed. Now, because they've reduced all that movement down, they've made it so that if you get into a close quarters gunfight with somebody, it's virtually 50-50, unless they're fucking amazing. So, I think it's really good because I'm not very good. It's much better for me. It's much better for me, and I enjoy it more. And I think what they've done is excellent. I do think that they need to lean more into what makes these games is that you have a personalized gun setup, and you love your gun and all the attachments and what you've done to it and everything like that. At the moment, Warzone 2, it's very hard to get what is called a loadout, and is your particular choice of guns and everything. It's quite hard to obtain that, and it was very easy in Warzone 1 to get. They need to find a happy medium to allow you to get your gun more easily. You can buy it, but that's fine as well. But I think they need to work on that. There's a few things they need to iron out, but I think largely it was a very unsuccessful launch with the servers and everything. But I think it's a successful launch in terms of what the game is. I really think it's a positive move.
Before we move on, do you mean buy it with money in real life or money in game?
In-game money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if it's with money in real life, they've got no incentive to speed that up.
Well, both of us got the battle pass though. Like it's.
But how good's this? You could carry over your points from the last game, which seems crazy to me. Because I think I was going to buy the battle pass, because if Ben bought it and Jack bought it, I would have all in. But they let me carry over my coins, which means I bought it. In fact, I've still got 1,000 coins left. I could probably buy the next 10 fucking battle passes.
They want you to buy the battle pass. They want you to invest real money because it's a free-to-play game. Warzone 2, you don't have to have standard COD to play Warzone or DMZ. But they need to make it so you can get your loadout and get your primary guns more easily. Because otherwise, what is the incentive for people to spend money to get good guns? I mean, we don't spend money other than the battle pass because you just earn them. But if somebody wants to spend, if they
because it is all about full loot at the moment, isn't it? Because
exactly.
money's hard to come by, and getting your loadout is too difficult. So I'm literally finding the best full loot. So there's no point. Yeah,
exactly. So they need to get people to spend money on this. So I think they'll find a happy medium and they'll iron it out. But all signs for me point to this being something very, very successful going forwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What I like most is that you two have slowed down again, because there was a point when you were talking DMZ where you both picked up speed. Like fucking Thunderbolt.
We get very excited.
You could tell you've been playing and enjoying it a lot.
We have played a lot of this game, haven't we?
A lot. I'd like to see how many hours I've already put into it. I mean, it's even out a week.
We've had kids have had some sessions. We're not gonna lie.
Hey, even Kirk joined. Even Busy Kirk.
Yeah, we did.
We were busy for the podcast, but happy to jump on that. Okay.
Well, I mean, he said he was going to join us all night, and then he joined for like 2 games. But that's Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt did join though. He did join.
He's a busy man.
He had to frame it afterwards. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. You had to make a disc for Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, so we've talked there about a battle royale and an extraction looter.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the point of the feature today really was to talk sort of a bit more about FPS, or first-person shooters, which will from now on be referred to as FPS.
Thank you, that's all I asked. Thank you.
Yeah, and sort of a bit more about the different modes, because there's so many now, aren't there? Like, not modes, but first-person shooters, and they all do it ever so slightly differently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If we look at the early days of it all, what was it? It was pretty much all death matches, wasn't it? You could even characterise like GoldenEye as a death match.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
sense, couldn't you?
Yeah.
The original
and that was 4v4, 6v6, or versions of that. Team deathmatch.
Yeah, the Counter-Strike days.
Exactly, yeah. Halo as well. Yes, as the obvious examples, the ones that people can relate to. Halo is sort of the easiest one to say, isn't it?
For the consoles, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it hasn't really changed ever since. Yeah, so this was your bread and butter, wasn't it? And then you two have waxed lyrically about the new versions where we've got Battle Royales, which, Warzone's the most recent, Warzone 2, but this all started with PUBG, didn't it?
Very good.
PUBG, as it's better known.
I'm very glad you went that route.
A deep callback there. I like that.
Yeah, at my own expense, thank you.
Even when you got memed on Twitter.
Even got memed.
It was a proud day. Sadly, not my first time I've been memed, but for the podcast, it is. But yeah, it started with PUBG. It moved into Fortnite in weird and strange ways. We had Apex as well, and now Warzone as sort of the biggest examples. I'm sure there's countless others. I'm sure there are, but they're all slightly different. And you'd probably say at this stage that Warzone is the most realistic, wouldn't you?
Yes,
Ooh.
yes. Yes, yeah.
Probably, and Fortnite the most wacky.
I would certainly say Warzone 2, definitely, because they have made it more realism with slowing it down and stuff. People are still quite bullet spongy, I guess.
What in Warzone 2? You get fucking deleted in a second.
Yeah, but Ben, realistic time. It takes 2 sniper headshots to kill you.
Yeah, the sniper is weird.
It also takes I think 0.8 of a second to kill someone with an assault rifle, and that's not realistic, Ben. I love you and I love the game, but that's not realistic.
0.8 of a second though.
Ben, that's like 4 bullets of an assault rifle to the chest.
Well, yeah, okay, we're splitting hairs here, but yeah.
Ben, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow I'll get an assault rifle and I'll shoot you 3 times in the chest, and I'll give you £1,000 afterwards. All right?
Yeah, but I won't have 3 armor plates.
Very good. Very good.
Which are going to get hit perfectly by it. Yes. He didn't say you couldn't have armor as well. You could rock up there.
If I didn't have armor on, if you'd have shot, you'd take me in 2 bullets.
If we're going for ultra realism, obviously I've got to say Tarkov as well. Remember that. That is the most realistic.
Yeah. This is the thing, because, I mean, extraction looter shooter is a whole thing. It's kind of there, isn't it? But extraction looters like Tarkov and Vigor are the other side of this.
I think they're great because those ones are like, they're almost like, they're games that you get so invested, but they have a continuation to them. Like these other FPSs that we talk about, like the Battle Royales and the multiplayers and stuff like that, extraction looters have like a persistent feel to them. Like with loot and your operatives and your guns and stuff like that, like they have a different thing. They almost feel like they could be a forever game with the right thing. And I get why Tarkov is just so appealing to so many people, because it is exactly that, isn't it?
Well, I think in some respect, I also think it feels more like a single player game.
Absolutely,
Do you know what I mean?
I've played a lot of DMZ single player as well. I know Eddie goes in with a team of 3 sometimes, like just randoms, but I like doing it on my own. I just go in there and stealthily do things and get out.
Yeah, that's it. But I think even you don't have to sort of think of the other people as a multiplayer part. You know what I mean? They're so it's just a very different way of doing it. Whereas most battle royales are team based, aren't they? Like, you break it down to 1 2 points, but most.
I mean, playing solos on a battle royale game is just hell on earth. I don't know how anyone does it. To be honest,
it feels like a fucking horror game to me.
It does feel like a horror game. All of a sudden, you get shot in the back after not seeing someone for 15 minutes. You have a heart attack. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. I think we've sort of seen it evolve into a thing where it's got something for everyone, because you've got 4v4, 6v6 team battles. You've got a team within a much larger battle, and you've got a sort of almost you can do it single player version of this. And we've seen that develop over time. And I'm sure you could break these down further if you wanted to, but those are the larger groups, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
And I suppose what I wanted to ask the two of you, because you play a lot more of these than I do or ever will, is do we like the direction it's heading?
I'm gonna go first because my answer's pretty easy. Is yes, very much so. I think there's going to be a lot of die-hard gamers who go, no, it's gotten silly, it's gotten stupid, but because they have an emotional connection to an old game, be it GoldenEye or I don't know, any one of the old ones, CS:GO, whatever. They will say that those are the but no, if you actually play one of those games and compare them with a modern day game like Tarkov or Warzone 2, it's absolutely shockingly bad. And I like the direction that it's all gone, in the sense of I like first person shooters. Well, I enjoy them. But in the old days, I used to hate a lot about them. For example, to play a first-person shooter in the old days, you either had to have a fucking storyline or you had to have 3 mates to play with. And nowadays, you can have so many games at your fingertips that you could just log in for 20 minutes, have a game, and you feel rewarded. That's my problem. Is I need reward out of a game. I need to go to bed and go, you did well because you got A, B, C, and D done. It's why I play a lot of strategy games. But with first-person shooters, these days, there's loads to have. Like, I love playing Tarkov because I get that reward feeling at the end, even though, sometimes other players come and kill me, and that's fine. But the fact that it's gone in this direction, the fact that there are now loads... Because there will be people out there that hate the looter shooters, that only like the competitive ones. And there are a fucking load of those type of games as well. And let's go even wider and say some people don't like the realism of first-person shooters. They like the silly, like, jumpy up and down and Apex and Fortnite, and they like the funny skins and the dances. And what's great about this, the fact that it's gotten so big and it's boomed, is that people who like the silly little fucking outfits, jumping around and slide cancelling, have their corner of games. And the serious people have their corner of games. While in the old days, it all used to be merged in, and you'd be playing Halo, and all of a sudden someone's teabagging you. So I love it. I know I'm going to piss a lot of hardcore gamers off, by saying that. But no, I like it. At the end of the day, the more choice, the better, because it means you can have your perfect game.
What I like about the new kind of the evolution of the first-person shooter, I think, is twofold. One is playing with mates, playing battle royales, and even with the extraction shooters and stuff like that. Playing those with friends is first-person shooters are incredibly accessible, so a lot of people can play them, and even if you're not very good, you can still be in a team and play as a team together, and you have fun. You have fun. Like, now, if Eddie was trying to win every match, he wouldn't be playing with me. But we have fun, so that's why we do it. Like, it is just a good time, and I don't think I would have had as much time gaming with friends over the last couple of years if it wasn't for these types of games. Now, would I choose a first-person shooter game as one of my favourite genres of games? No, absolutely not. But it's so accessible to play with friends that are anywhere right now. We're living in a golden age of gaming where you can do that. And these types of games, now that we have the consoles and PCs and stuff as powerful as they are, to allow us to do this, like, these types of games can happen. They create so many moments and memories. Like, just the last week, we have had several moments, Eddie, where we've gone, oh my God, what the fuck have we just done? That is amazing. What we just had, that little moment. Like, you just don't get that with many other games. Like, that's one aspect that I love. And the other aspect I love is the likes of the extraction looter, like being able to do something like this, which is persistent. And I call it persistent, like it's something which carries over. It's like what Eddie was saying a minute ago about feeling like you did something of value. I love the reason I champion kind of Call of Duty over the other shooters at the moment is because what they have done in terms of their battle pass, they're getting you to feel like, I feel like when I have my gun that I've put together and my loadout that I put together, that I am a much better player. Like, they have created that belief, whether it's true or not. Yeah. They have made you believe that by the hours you've put in, the grind that you've put in to enable you to have unlocked those things. Like, there's a lot of people complaining about Call of Duty, like, oh, they've locked certain guns behind the main game. You can't unlock them unless you play DMZ, unless you do this thing in the multiplayer. Yeah, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to do that. That it's their fucking game.
It's a free game, Ben. That's what's amazing as well. It's a free game.
If you want to play the free thing, you can play the free thing. But there's a persistence to it. Like, it makes you feel valued that you've done. I'm glad they've moved away from the standard multiplayers, is what I'm saying, because I don't see so much value in playing a game without winning or losing. Like, I've played a lot of Call of Duty multiplayer this generation to level up my guns and stuff. Do I care whether we win a round? No. I just care whether I've got a load of kills to get points for my weapon to unlock more. I don't care about the team. Like, that's not where it should... But that's not how it should work.
Yeah.
But I do care about the team when I play with my mates in Warzone or whether I play in DMZ. I love where it's going.
I'm not sure I believe him, though.
I do love where it's going there, because I believe it's an evolution. I believe it's more sophisticated than it used to be. And for that reason, I can't wait to see where they go next. I think Warzone is a great move. Warzone 2.
Okay.
What about you, Pete?
You almost sold it to me, but no, I still hate the look of Warzone.
You'd love it if you played with us. Honestly, you would.
I'm sure I would. This is the thing.
He doesn't want to play with us.
If only I had friends I enjoyed playing a game with. We'd probably all be on World of Warcraft, to be honest. But anyway, if people wanted to reach out and tell you why you're wrong about the direction, Eddie, how would they get in touch with us?
What, you asking me?
Was that directed at
I was going to say, I can see where you went.
The question was, but it doesn't matter who says it.
You could email us at podcast@grumpygamers.co.uk, or you could tweet us at grumpygamerspod. We've got a YouTube channel at Grumpy Gamers Podcast, and we stream on Twitch 7 p.m. Thursdays, and we are called Grumpy Gamers Podcast, no spaces.
Fantastic.
Is that
absolutely smashed it.
That was brilliant. Love it. That worked really well.
Smashed it.
Yeah. Got a new role.
There we go. And for this week, though, that is GG.
Right, let's play some DMZ. GG.
GG.